Hey guys, Robin George here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe, with our ongoing X-Files, a closer look, season 3, episode, I want to say 11. Yeah, episode 11, Revelations. Yes, somewhat of a nod to the book of Revelations, End Times, Armageddon, End Days. This episode is the last of 1995. Drops December 15th, just a week or so before Christmas in the year 1995. David Nutter along again as director. And I did not write the writer. I want to say it was Kim Manners, though, off the top of my head. I want to say it was her. So Revelations, what can you say? R. Lee Ermey, Sam Bottoms, Michael Berryman, Kenneth Welsh. Review's done. I'm kidding. Look, what a lineup of guests. R. Lee Ermey. If you don't know by chance some of these guys, wow. Sam Bottoms, Apocalypse Now, of course. Up from the Depths, kind of a cheesy Roger Corman film. Outlaw Josie Wales, man. What else here? Kenneth Welsh, The Void, Survival of the Dead, Psycho Gorman, Michael Berryman, Hills Have Eyes, Devil's Rejects. Oh yeah, the one I did not remember, One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. R. Lee Ermey, of course. I always forget he was in 7, the captain. Of course, TCM, the remake from 03. But the one everyone knows him from probably is Full Metal Jacket. The opening 6 minutes are 6 to 10 minutes, whatever it is exactly plays out. Yeah, there are a few movies that make me laugh so hard I start to cry. And that first 6 minutes, I bawl like a baby, man, laughing so hard. I was in the United States Infantry, not the Marine Corps, okay? Didn't go to Parris Island. I did go to Fort Benning, Georgia. Back when things were just on the cusp. Now, see, I was in from 90 to 94, and I was watching just a little earlier, was watching a former Marine drill sergeant react to the first several minutes of Full Metal Jacket, and I think he mentioned back in the late 80s or 90s, 98. I almost want to say that was the year. I think he was making the point that even then, man, I mean, you could not get away with that junk, and a lot of the things that are said in that opening salvo of declarations by the drill sergeant, we love to hate or hate to love or whatever, however you want. But you know, I was in from 90, I would say about 94 in terms of the infantry. You were just starting to see things change, and if you were, you know, I mean, these things weren't going to be for the good. The whole point of the military is to come in and get broke down, and so you can be rebuilt back up, and so that 2 seconds into combat, you're not having your head blown off. That's the hope. Now, I'm way off track on this, so let's segue in here to Scully, who, in terms of her faith, this is the first episode that we get to see where the focus to this degree is on her faith as a Roman Catholic. In terms of the story, the structure, the narrative, and how it impacts her and her character. And, you know, she is really, I think she says it best towards the end, but she's really sort of, she has moved quite a distance away from the church. And this is working to pull her back in terms of her center of faith, you know, in her relationship or her faith in God, maybe even in the church itself. And so there is a bit of this going on, isn't there, where she's sort of brought back home in a sense. But the tension is between her and Mulder, who is the ultimate skeptic when it comes to the things that Scully is seeing. Let's say the story, involves schematics, which when we open up the scene, of course, is Ermey. He is a reverend somewhere in PA delivering a sermon, and he is a fake stigmatic. And so, he clenches his hands and the blood starts to come. And of course, a lot of the congregation buys right into it. They say there are real stigmatics, that it is a phenomena that has happened. But this show revolves around 11, and Ermey is the 11th, who are being killed all around the world. No one knows why, although their common link is they're fake. They're showsters or whatever, fake schematics who use it for whatever means they're using it for. But something else is tying in here. There is a small boy in Ohio, Kevin, who and Sam Bottoms plays his dad, right? Who is his life is interrupted in a big way. It's school in the middle of the school day when he begins to bleed from his hands in a very stigmatic way. Of course, just because this is on everyone's radar now, Scully and Mulder are brought in very quickly to this. And of course, the dynamics and baggage of the family, the dad has been since institutionalized. A lot of crazy things have happened in their past. But they're afraid that once it hits the news, and what this boy is doing, or perhaps maybe it's going to draw unneeded attention. And so whoever is out there going after the stigmatics may, of course, come after the boy. And so that really pushes the rest of your narrative forward. And Scully, over the course of the show, is drawn to, in a motherly instinct, maybe more to protect the young boy. Of course, there's a connection involving faith and things that are seen, miracles, right? Which will happen that seemingly Scully is the only way to account for some of the things that are happening. One of the things that's interesting that is dealt with is Michael Berryman's character. He's the guy who did yard work for the family, the young boy, and he seemingly is called of God to kidnap. At this point, the boy has been put in a shelter of sorts, and Berryman will go on a mission from God and kidnap this kid, but it's to protect the kid. There's the sinister agent who is traveling the world killing these stigmatics. Of course, the boy will end up on his radar, and so very quickly he will come. It's put forward by Simon, this renegade, this killer, that in the end, if this boy is allowed to live, it will. Do I remember? I only watched it once. I just watched it literally like an hour or so ago before lunch. Would usher in his death, would usher in the end times and a new age, something to this. It's the theology in this episode is a little goofy, but what's not is the sincerity of the faith that's being reawoken in Scully's life. And so much of the show really centers on that, and the tension, of course, with the boy, Michael Berryman. I mentioned him. So, he is killed by our main antagonist, Simon. He's killed by him. And so when he's in the morgue and Scully's going to do the autopsy, she is struck by the fact that his body has not even started the process of decaying and doesn't seem to be or is going to decay. And so she relates this to Mulder as something that she learned about in catechism class, actually, that this is a phenomena that has happened with saints, some of the saints of old in the church. And so, this is that's a key moment where she is really starting to be shook up in terms of, some of these things. There's another instance where the boy Kevin, where him and his mom are trying to get away, and their car is overheating, and so they're on the side of the road, and Simon happens to show up, of course. Well, the boy has this weird gift power. He sort of puts the impression on Simon's mind that he has run off into the woods, and Simon gives chase when in fact the boy is actually in the car, is able to get his mom in the car, and they're able to try to get out of there. So certain miracles seem to be unfolding, and Scully's interpretation by the end of the show is sort of like a rebirth of her faith. But what hurts her is that, of all people, Mulder's not seeing any of it. And so our closing moments of this, once there's, we've had the finale, and Simon Gates just happens to be an owner of a recycling plant. And so the closing out minutes happen in this plan in which he is going to kill the boy. But ultimately, he's thwarted from that. The boy tells Scully that they will meet again. I didn't see anything in trivia on IMDb, so I don't know if they ever bring this character back again or not, or what the illusion is. I didn't see it anything. If there is, drops a comment down, be nice. So in the closing few moments, we find Scully has gone to confession, and that is a powerful, powerful scene. The dialogue that is shared between her and the confessional priest, in terms of the nature of miracles, and do they even exist, and what do we mean by them? That I won't get into it, but that seems to be brought forward in quite an interesting way in terms of the public conscience of what just happened of late. The question as to was there a miracle that unfolded on July the 13th? I know that doesn't probably sit well with a lot out there. I don't even know how you even begin to really examine something like that. But the thought is out there nonetheless. So quite interestingly that this episode is where it is on my, coming to review it. But really at the forefront is the tension that she feels. She doesn't understand why Mulder, who ultimately is the one who she says at some point earlier, you look up and the first little light you see in the sky, you believe, it is what you want it to be. Why can't you see or share in what I am seeing? And so there's this tension built in terms of, be it paranormal phenomena, the things that Mulder seems to be gravitated to and is very open to. Faith is not one of those things. Now we'll see some of these things tested with him throughout the seasons, as they run. There are some powerful moments where he's left seemingly praying over whatever it is that just concluded them. I'm just thinking of scenes, images in my mind. But for Scully, she is the one who holds on to faith, but she's also the one who's rooted in, concretely into science in terms of there having to be explanations that have to be worked out in a way that's understandable. And so there is an interesting tension between the two, and I don't know how often they really play with that. We'll see in the coming episodes, obviously. But the closing moments for Scully, she makes the point to say, if miracles really do happen, then that means God is speaking, but no one is listening. This is the thing that she's afraid of the most, is the idea that miracles may be unfolding in front of us, and the interpretation is perhaps God is speaking, and the sad aspect is who's listening. It is interesting, but some incredible guest appearances, man. I really do wish Ermey had a much larger role in this, because, man, I love seeing his acting chops, man. That guy is awesome to watch. Sam Bottoms, too, man. Blast from the past. I'm not that familiar with Kenneth Welsh, although I am familiar with The Void, of course, and Survival of the Dead. And even even Hayley Tyson, who plays Susan, Kevin's mom, she was, I didn't think to write it down, but she, I think, was in a genre piece or two. So anyways, some interesting things here as we, I think, officially close out 1995. The next time we're in this, it'll be should be 1996 in January, I think. I didn't look out ahead. Yeah, it must be, because the season is not, the season is far from being over. So early in January, I would imagine. It'll be interesting to see what the jump is in time. So next up, might as well take a look real quick if I can, well, oh, I know, War of the Carfax. I always can't say that name right. War of the Carfax. Yeah. I'm not even gonna try. Whatever. Always we end these things off with "Go Bills."
This is not a dream. Not a dream. We might be useful to you.